Hello, everyone. Welcome to another video of Into the Hive Mind. Um, Here to talk about the new 10th edition codex that just dropped, and my little kid Lily here wants to be on a YouTube video, so here she is, and she definitely wants to eventually have her own little YouTube channel, but we're not sure what. What was the? Do you remember what the rule was for if you want to make your own YouTube channel?
I have to make sure that I have something that will make people watch it and make sure that I'm okay because people are creepy on internet.
I guess yeah. When you're 7 years old, yes, that we did ensure that one as well. But yeah, the main thing is you have to make sure that you have something that the people want. So on that note, we are. I'm going to take some of my own advice, and it seems like you guys seem to get a lot more views when I make the short videos that are like 20 minutes as opposed to the hour plus long videos. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down all of the detachments into their own videos. So this video is going to be just like an overall what I think about the codex in general and what the main changes are, such as like point changes, index changes, and how the army plays with the new codex. And then I'm going to make a separate video for each of the 6 different detachments. I'll probably only do 5 though, because one of them is the standard detachment that is the same as the index beforehand. So with that, Lily, you want to wave hi to everyone?
Hello.
All right, then you want to head back out so I can do the video? What about what? Those were the questions. We're just letting you say hi, but do you know a lot about Tyranids? No? Well, maybe when you learn a little bit more about Tyranids, huh? Okay, do you want to just stay here and listen? Anyways, yes, we've got... So, getting into the codex, basically what changed and what GW did. And I do have to say I'm very impressed with this new method that GW is doing. It basically, you have 6 different detachments, including the invasion fleet. The invasion fleet is the same as the index, literally copy pasted word for word. Hey Lily, if you're gonna stay here, you need to not move because you're shaking the camera. But yeah, copied word for word from the index. So what that means is if you want to keep playing the way you've been playing, you absolutely can do that. There's just been some minor balance changes, minor points adjustments, and other than that, everything else is identical. And then on top of that, they gave us 5 different detachments, and the way that this works is they are a 1-for-1 replacement. Every detachment has 4 enhancements, 6 stratagems, and a detachment ability. So what that means is your detachment ability from the invasion fleet from the index is, you get to choose at the beginning of the battle, at the beginning of the game, whether you want lethal hits against monsters or vehicles, sustained hits against infantry, or your critical hits gain precision. And instead, you will be swapping that rule out, plus any enhancements and all of the stratagems out for entirely different ones, depending on which detachment you choose. We'll get into that a little bit later, but this 1-for-1 switch allows them to balance each detachment internally and not have to worry about weird overpowered rules jank and how every single thing is able to interact with each other. Instead, they can just focus entirely on one detachment, say how does this interact with itself, and because of that, actually give you some pretty powerful and flavorful abilities for each detachment. And with that, let's go ahead and talk about the codex in general. I don't actually have it. Everything that I know is based off of watching all the reviews that came out yesterday, primarily Art of War's John Lennon, and with him reviewing the codex. And then watched a few others. There's Vanguard Tactics, there's Mini Wargaming. Check out those if you want to see people who actually have the codex. I'm just here to talk about it. But what I think is really cool about the way that they're doing Tyranids is instead of having your hive fleets like Behemoth, Kraken, Hydra, any of that, they divided it up to where you actually get to basically choose what phase of a Tyranid invasion would you like to play as. So, Tyranids kind of have a repetitive pattern as to how they attack planets. And so what that means is for the very beginning of a Tyranid invasion, you have your Vanguard organisms. So one of your detachments are the Vanguard Swarm. This is basically your Lictors, your Gene Stealers, and anything that flies, basically all of the prominent Vanguard of the attack. You've got sneaky stuff sneaking in and basically sowing chaos and making the enemy's command structure just go haywire. So you can play as that very initial kind of infiltration swarm, which is what the Vanguard detachment is. Next, the Tyranids tend to just hit you with wave on wave on wave of gaunts, which gives you the Endless Swarm detachment, where you can just play that Gaunt Swarm, which is bodies over bullets. You're depleting the defenders of any of their weapons before you actually hit with the main force of your army. So next, after all the little Griblies waste all of your ammo and just hit you up with wave upon wave of little stuff, if that doesn't work, Tyranids tend to hit you with the big stuff, the big monsters, and see if you can withstand. If you're able to kill bodies, well, maybe they'll make these giant monsters that are able to eat all of this small arms fire that you've been firing this whole time. So after that, you can then play the Crusher Stampede, which is an entirely monster-focused detachment. And then if you get to survive past all of the concentrated, basically very skew towards one focus, try and basically overwhelm with numbers or massive bodies. If you're able to basically withstand a skew force, then you have the Tyranid invasion, which is just your basic detachment. Again, this is your index detachment, and they'll hit you with that next, just kind of this balanced force. And if that doesn't work, then it's time to bring in the brain bugs and adapt your strategy. So what that means is then you have your Synaptic Nexus detachment, which is all about the brains, all of your psychic stuff, and all of your really adaptability that the hive mind can do. So your Synaptic Nexus detachment has very much more like combat doctrines that Space Marines have, where each battle round you get to pick a new ability for your army to have to be able to adapt on the fly and overcome your foe. And finally, at the end of a Tyranid invasion, we have the mop-up force. The guys that basically go and clean up. They eat everything. They throw everything in digestion pools. And that is your Assimilation Swarm, which is your final detachment. Really cool that they threw this in there. I'm not sure if they were running out of ideas or why we didn't have this before, but it's a new one, and I'm actually really excited about it. No, why don't you just close the door? So yeah, that's the way that they structured this book, and honestly, I love it. It means you don't have to worry about your paint scheme. Obviously, my Tyranids are painted Behemoth, and you don't have to worry about playing High Fleet Kraken with Behemoth painted Tyranids anymore. You just get to choose what phase of a invasion force you'd like to play, and that's your detachment. So really like that. And then as far as the rest of the stuff, let's get into the actual index changes. So first off, let's go through point changes. Keep in mind these changes are they're very in flux right now, because we are about to get a balanced data slate, I think, next week, which could entirely change all of these points. So this is these are the points that are in the back of the book, but as they were saying in their reviews, there's I guess a QR code in the back of the codex, which says if you're actually playing match play, then scan the QR code to get the updated points. But here they are. You've got Biovores are 45 instead of 65. Broodlords are 90 instead of 100. Death Leaper went down 5 to 75. Exocrine went down 10 to 125. Gargoyles went down 5 for a min-sized unit down to 70. Harpies went down 65 points to 165. That might have been a adjustment prior to the previous point hike that it went up. But Harpies are now 165. Harspecs went down 5 to be even cheaper at 120. Hive Crone down 5 to 195. Hive Guard down 5 for a unit of 3 down to 95. Hive Tyrant down 5 down to 215. Lictors down 5 to 70, although importantly, Lictors were nerfed and lost their invuln save. We'll see if that was intentional or not, but looks like they lost their invuln, and that was apparently worth 5 points. Maleceptor down 5 to 160. Mawloc down 10 to 130. Neurotyrant down 10 to 95. Parasite down 15 to 75. That's a very good change. They were certainly overcosted. Screamer down 5 to 175. Turbigon down 10 to 190. Still don't think it's really playable at those points, but we'll see. Tyrannocyte down 10 to 95. Tyrannifex down 10 to 190. Von Ryans down 5 for min units of 3 down to 70. Winged Hive Tyrants are down 5 to 190. Winged Tyranid Prime down 15 to 65. I think Winged Tyranid Primes are actually worth it now. They definitely were not worth it at 80 points, but now being 65 and getting a lot of support from detachments, I think Winged Tyranid Primes might actually be worth bringing. So those are all the guys that dropped in points, and then a few of them did go up. Barbgaunts went up 5 for their min unit of 5 to be 55 points. Gene Stealers went up 5 to be 95 points for a min unit. And I don't really understand this one. Gene Stealers were kind of on the edge for me to begin with. Then they went up in points. And they got a really big nerf. Technically, it's a side grade, but it's definitely a nerf. So before, Gene Stealers rerolled 1s to wound. And if your opponent was on an objective, they would reroll all wounds. Now that has been moved to reroll 1s to hit, and if your opponent is on an objective, then you reroll 1s to wound. So no longer reroll everything, comboing with dev wounds makes them not nearly as good. Still good in like a 5-man unit that can kill some light chaff, but that's really about it. Melee Tyranid Warriors went up 5 points. I'm not really sure why. They were already way more expensive than their ranged variant, and I really don't know why they need to be 25 points more for 3 models. But yeah, 95 points for 3 Melee Tyranid Warriors, 190 for 6. And then Rippers changed. Rippers are now 15 points a model and are taken in units of 1 to 3 instead of 3 to 6. So that is honestly a really good change for us, because they did go up slightly in points, but now you can take them in units of 1, and 15 points for a deep striking unit that can do actions. Welcome to our new Spore Mines, and that is because the Biovore did get a nerf. Not completely eliminated. The Biovore can still spawn Spore Mines, and the Spore Mines can still do actions. However, only one Biovore can make a Spore Mine per player turn. So no more sit in your castle and just seed 3 Spore Mines to get engage. And yeah, so little bit of a nerf there, but they made up for it by giving us single model Ripper units to be able to still just deep strike in and do secondaries with a single base. So that's really good. And then we have some new models. So let's talk about those and their data sheets. We have the Neuro Lictor for 60 points. This guy is just a flat upgrade over a regular Lictor. He is T5, but has 7 wounds. So you lose a toughness, but you gain a wound. That's kind of a 1-for-1 trade, in my opinion. Means you take an extra hit from a 2 damage weapon, and T5 versus T6 doesn't matter a huge amount of the time. But the abilities that the Neurolictor has, it does still have Infiltrate, it does still have Stealth, it does still have Lone Operative. So with all of those, that makes it where the Neurolictor is amazing for 60 points. Started in the midfield, do some secondaries, have it where your opponent can't really interact with it. And it has a 4-up invuln. So the invuln that the Lictors lost, the Neurolictor gained and improved upon. So insanely good for 60 points. And then on top of that, it has it does still have precision on its melee weapon. However, its melee weapon did drop to only damage 1 instead of damage 2. That's fine. Regular Lictors, I was finding, weren't actually killing what I wanted them to. You weren't using them for their melee threat. So Neurolictors, just, they're not even pretending. They can kill light chaff, and that's about it. With 6 attacks at strength 6, AP 2 for 1. And then the other ability that the Neurolictor has, it did lose fight first over a normal Lictor, but instead it has in the beginning of your command phase, you pick an enemy unit within 12 and they take a battle shock check. If they fail, they are -1 to hit, and your entire army is +1 to wound against them. So that's a really good buff for Tyranids who struggle with high toughness targets, being strength 7 to 9 with almost all of our big stuff. Getting +1 to wound makes up for that a lot. That being said, it's probably not going to happen very often, but the turn it does, capitalize on it and pick that unit up. Because +1 to wound is really good.
But +1 to wound is so weird. It's just, I don't get it when people say it.
It just means that you roll dice, and it's a lot easier. You need to roll a lower number on the dice, which is easier to do. Then you have the Norn Assimilator. This guy is 305 points. I am a little confused as to why he is more expensive than the Emissary. Both of the Norns are toughness 11 with a 2-up save and 16 wounds. Leadership 7, they're synapse. So they will always be taking leadership 7 on 3d6. And they have OC of 5, which is great. Definitely a big monster there. Notably, the Emissary has a 4+ invulnerable save. The Assimilator has big toxin harpoons that deal damage instead in combat. And so I think that's kind of a 1-for-1 trade, and they should at least be the same. I'm not sure why the one without a 4+ invuln is 20 points more expensive, but it is. Both of them have an incredible rule. I forget the exact name of it, but it's basically their single-minded target. At the beginning of the game, after deployment, you choose whether you are going to be, you either pick an enemy unit, and that model gets to reroll all hits and wounds against that unit, or you pick an objective. And while this model is on that objective, you get OC 15, meaning you outscore the big guys, even 12 OC Titans. And you also get a 5-up Feel No Pain, which is incredible because that means you can play these guys in detachments other than the index detachment, which is the only way to get a 5-up Feel No Pain for these guys otherwise. So I personally will probably always go for the objective, unless your opponent really has one key unit that you absolutely have to bring down and you think you can actually get tango with them with your assimilators and emissaries. With that, they do both have a shooting attack. The assimilators harpoons is 2 shots at 12-inch range, strength 12, AP 3 for d6 +1 damage. And if he hits a monster or vehicle with it, he gets +2 to charge them. That makes the assimilator, in my mind, makes me think you want to maybe outflank this guy, and hopefully you get a monster or vehicle, and then have a 7-inch charge from Deep Strike. Whereas the Emissary has a shooting attack, which is just a psychic attack. and you get to choose between 3 modes. You either get kind of a piddly 2-shot D3 damage with precision if you decide to try and snipe some wounded characters, or you can have a 2d6 blast profile, strength 6, AP 2 for 1. Not bad at all against obviously light infantry. Or you have your Melta profile, 2 shots, strength 12, AP 3, D6 damage. Melta 2. So Tyranids finally have access to Melta. All of these are 18-inch range, so not super long range. The Melta you'll have to be within 9 to benefit from. But pretty cool that Tyranids are getting access to the Melta rule for the first time. Other than that, they each have their own secondary special rule, where the Emissary has a 4-up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds. So you're not just going to lose it to Thousand Suns. It's actually incredibly durable against Thousand Suns, as it has the 4-up Invuln if they ignore your save, and a 4-up Feel No Pain against mortals. The Emissary is here to just stick around, be OC 15 with a 5-up Feel No Pain on an objective. The Assimilator, on the other hand, wow, I just totally blanked what his ability was. Nope, it's gone. Someone's a little distracting. It is a ability, and I believe it is combat based, and it's not coming back to me. So, I guess. Sorry, guys. It's gone. I have everything else written down, and I don't have that written down. So that's my fault. Yeah, no, it's gone. Okay, well, that probably wraps up this video, because that is all of the changes to the indexes. Sorry, I guess you'll just have to look at the card or the codex for that assimilator special ability. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. We're going to go, like I said, shorter form reports. I don't know if you guys want to still hear my tournament battle reports, I can happily do that. I did play a Hierophant at a 7-round major, which was pretty fun. But it doesn't seem like those videos are really getting any views at all. So if you do want to see that, please let me know, because currently it seems like your guys' interest in those videos is pretty low. And not really worth my time to make them. But yeah, stick around. I will be coming out with more videos throughout the rest of the week, probably 1 or 2 today, with new detachments. So let me know what you think of those.
Bye.
Bye. See you in the next video.